You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Thursday. Happy Jupiter Day. We are in Cancer season now. Let me know how you're feeling. It's June 23rd, and few famous Cancers are celebrating today. Clarence Thomas is a Cancer. Selma Blair. Let's see. Anyone else? June Carter Cash. Oh, how sweet. Frances McDormand, Randy Jackson, Jason Mraz, all Cancers. So if you're a Cancer, let us know in the comments. If someone you know is celebrating a birthday today, give them a shout out so we can celebrate them too. And if you're joining me live, go ahead and comment something, because yesterday the comments were not working at all on YouTube and Facebook, and I couldn't see what you were saying. So if you're here, just say a little hello. All right, the sun is in Cancer, the moon is in Taurus today. So today's a day we're going to be talking a lot about our bodies. Taurus rules the physical, so when the moon is in Taurus, we're really physically focused, especially when it comes to our emotions. We're nurtured by the physical, so nice comfy things. We're nurtured by physical comfort in a lot of ways. And then the sun in Cancer, Cancer has a lot to do with the moon as well, and our body and our comfort. So these are things we're going to be talking a lot about today. And the main transit we're going to be discussing is actually something you probably won't hear a lot of astrologers talking about today. And that's because it is not only a minor transit, but it's not exact. However, we've been feeling the effects of this all week. So let me pull up our chart here and show you what we're talking about. Lilith is squaring off to Jupiter. So you can see that red line there. Lilith is over here, Black Moon Lilith at 7 degrees in Cancer. Jupiter is at 6 degrees in Aries. So you can see they're not in an exact square, but they are within a degree of each other. We're still seeing that dark red line. And let me just double check here. Lilith has been squaring Jupiter, excuse me. Let me see. All week, I want to say from Sunday until today is the last day that we really are going to feel this square. What does this mean though? We talked a lot about Lilith in Cancer when Lilith moved into Cancer a couple weeks ago now. So if you want to dive into Lilith, go ahead and check out that video. But just a refresher, Lilith is known as the Black Moon, but she, in astrology, has a lot to do with the Bible, actually. So Lilith was known as Adam's first wife in the Bible. She was created the same way Adam was created, or at the same time Adam was created, but she refused to submit to Adam. She did not want to be less than Adam. So she was cast aside. Eve was created out of Adam's rib, and we know the story from there. So for many, centuries now, Lilith has kind of been this frowned upon figure in the Bible, this woman who refused to submit to her husband, and in Catholicism and Christianity, that is not a great quality or not believed to be a great quality. But in recent years, we've kind of reclaimed Lilith, and astrology is a big part of that. So what is Lilith? It's not a planet. It's actually just a point on the moon's orbit where the moon is farthest from the Earth. And so it rules our shadows. It's kind of like the darkest point on the moon's orbit. It's farthest away. So it rules our shadows, these things that have been repressed or that we have been kind of pushing down. And when we have a Lilith activation, these things can kind of come up and rear their feisty head. So Lilith is known as kind of our inner bitch, but really it's the part of us that doesn't want to be controlled. It's a little bit rebellious. And with Lilith in Cancer, we talked about this when Lilith moved into Cancer, but I said, you know, the battle over reproductive rights will likely flare back up while Lilith is moving through Cancer for, it should be the next about 7.5 months now. It's a 9-month transit. And then a couple weeks later, we saw the whole Roe v. Wade documents leaked, things like that. So this is why I say we're going to talk a lot about our body today, because if we don't listen to our body today, or if we haven't been listening to our body, it could make us. It could kind of rebel or force us to listen to it. Now, Jupiter, how does Jupiter play into this? Anytime we have a square to Jupiter, it's going to amplify this energy. And it's almost this feeling of needing to reach for something, needing to feel good. A square brings an element of being impulsive. So when Lilith squares Jupiter, it could bring these kind of abrupt moments of needing to feel seen, our body needing to be acknowledged. So yes, definitely like listen to your body today. This could manifest today as like a powerful urge that comes through, or you know, something that we haven't been paying attention to really like flashing in our face. It brings our body's physical needs to the forefront in a lot of ways. And Lilith is also very much linked to our sexuality, right? And so you could have an intense need or desire to feel pleasure today when Lilith squares off to Jupiter. Jupiter in Aries wants us to feel good and wants us to feel good right now. And Lilith is really putting the focus on like bodily pleasure. We also, though, at the same time want our autonomy, want our sovereignty. So self-care is a beautiful practice today, especially if you're not in a partnership, like pleasure yourself. You know, that could be a great way to lean into this energy, because it could kind of feel just like this underlying urge, or you might have been feeling this over the past few days, because like I said, Lilith and Jupiter have been squaring each other in the background all week. Now with Jupiter in Aries, there's an element of independence here, and Lilith kind of brings this independent vibe. So we might just have this like primal urge to be independent and get our own needs fulfilled. It's a little bit more of a selfish energy rather than a selfless energy. We're more confident with Jupiter's influence, but we're more focused on fulfilling what we need rather than giving other people what they need. So it's not a major transit, but it's just worth noting. It could even be like a non-pleasure, you know, how we normally think of pleasure, right? It could be like you really just want to eat good food today. You know, you really just want to do what your body wants to do. And it doesn't have a lot to do with like the mind, this transit. It's very much physically focused. So that's what's going on with our major transits today. That's the only connection. We don't have any other planets connecting today. I do want to point out though, why Lilith and Jupiter never form an exact square. So they get really close this week, but then Lilith starts to outpace Jupiter and she starts to move a little bit more quickly, pulling away from that square. So, you know, it's really interesting when we look at a transit like this. Usually we're used to planets forming the exact angle and then one of them continuing, or vice versa. But in this, it's almost like this, like they're trying to form the square. They do form a loose square, but it's never exact, which is so interesting. It's almost giving me this feeling of like, we're never going to actually be satisfied today, but we really want to. So I don't know. Let me know how you feel, if you've been kind of feeling your body's urges coming up this week, or, you know, even just in Cancer season, if you've been feeling more of a focus on your body. The moon is in Taurus today, making some positive connections. So you can see right now, the moon is at 2 degrees, I believe, in Taurus, yes. And today, the moon is just making a couple of sextiles. First to the sun, which is happening right now, and then to Lilith. So I'm really glad we already talked about Lilith, because the moon is actually helping us realize those needs emotionally as well. First, though, we're feeling confident today as the Taurus sun gets support from, the Taurus moon gives support to the Cancer sun. We talked a little bit about the moon in Taurus, but we just really crave bodily comfort, relaxation today. Self-care is definitely on the menu. It's really a time in the moon cycle. We're now in the waning crescent phase of the moon cycle. It's a time of surrender and release. And I see this really as a surrender to our own bodies, a surrender to what makes us feel good, finding a comfortable environment that we can just relax in, even if it's just being in sweats on our couch or whatever that looks like for you. Being in nature is definitely favored under a Taurus moon, if that's relaxing to you. Usually is for most people. Whatever self-care looks like for you, especially for your body, I recommend doing something along those lines today. But 9 a.m. right now, the moon and sun are connecting in a nice 60-degree angle. And this is really helping us be a little bit more confident. It's like the moon representing our emotions, the sun representing our conscious awareness and how we show up. We are easily able to, these two things are talking to each other really easily right now, is what I'm trying to say. So it's like listening to our body feels really easy when the sun and moon in these very bodily focused signs are supporting each other. Our emotions are working hand in hand with how we're showing up. So it's helping us find time for self-care, for relaxation. It's reminding us, okay, like our body is just as important as our mind, especially coming out of Gemini season. We've been very focused on the mind, our mental processes. Today is a day to return to the body, and we'll really enjoy being at home throughout Cancer season, honestly, but especially during the Taurus moon over the next couple of days, just finding those comfortable environments, either in your own home or in a family member's home, to just relax. I would also say good food today is going to feel especially nurturing, because when I think of signs most associated with food, I think of Taurus and Cancer, and we have the Taurus moon and the Cancer sun today supporting each other. Now, the moon doesn't make any other connections until it forms that same 60-degree angle to Lilith tonight. This is at 7 p.m., and you can see on our chart here, once that moon hits 7 degrees, it'll form that nice angle to Lilith in Cancer. Now, I think, like I said, this is just kind of bringing an emotional awareness to this sort of bodily tension we've been feeling, these urges, this need for pleasure we've been feeling over the past week. We might not have the most physical energy today. The moon in Taurus, especially this waning moon, is really just like, slow down. Like even Cancer, the Cancer sun, Cancer season, it's really like a slower energy. But tonight, when the moon connects with Lilith, we can tap into that inner power, that inner well more easily, that part of us that's ruled by Lilith, that's deep within us, that's like ready to come out and be like, nope, this is what I want, this is what I need. So it's like once we're fully relaxed under the Taurus moon, we can open ourselves to pleasure, to feeling really good, and to that power within us that doesn't necessarily require a lot of physical exertion. It's just that power that wants to be like almost satiated, right? So this is really allowing our inner desires to be realized. But again, we have to get to a point where we're really listening to our body and tapped in under the Taurus moon. Gentle movement is a really great way to lean into this transit. Self-pleasure, again, would be especially fulfilling tonight with the Taurus moon and Lilith connecting. It's all about meeting our own needs and making ourselves feel good. And if you can happen to make someone else feel good in the process, bonus points there. But our focus is really on the self today in a lot of ways. So self-care is just kind of the name of the game, listening to your body, really taking some time to be intentional about, slowing down, listening, figuring out what signals might have been going off in your body that you haven't really been paying attention to at this point. All right, those are the major transits for today, let's wrap this up with our affirmation of the day. Has a lot to do with what we've been talking about, but the affirmation of the day is, I deserve to feel pleasure. Lilith is that part of us that knows we are deserving, that knows that we are that we're powerful, and that we have needs that need to be met, right? That we don't have to adapt to other people's needs in order to feel fulfilled, that we have to listen to ourselves. So it's kind of that like internal compass. It's a very feminine energy. We're feeling a lot of feminine energy today with Cancer season in full swing, and with the moon in Taurus, just really focusing on the body with all of this Lilith activation. It's really a day, even if you're not a woman or you don't identify as feminine, leaning into that feminine side of yourself might be favored today. So just leaning into pleasure, leaning into feeling good, and making sure you're listening to your body in the process. All right, we're going to do a quick card pull from The Universe Has Your Back today. Just see what other final messages need to come through. We're awfully quiet in the chat on Instagram and on YouTube, but that's okay. That's okay. Every day is a little bit different. That's why it's fun to do these shows live. All right, whether you're joining me live or later, let's just take a moment to take a deep breath together. Here we go. Breathe in and release. What do we need to know? The more energy and intention I bring to my faith, the more fearless and free I am. I love this. The more energy and intention I bring to my faith, the more fearless and free I am. I love that this uses the words fearless and free, because those are definitely words I would associate with Lilith. It's that part of us that's like fearlessly speaking up for our own needs and freeing ourselves from any sort of constructs or oppression that have been placed on us or that we have placed on ourselves. So the more energy and intention we bring to our faith, and our faith could be as simple as, it could be worshiping a higher power. But in my opinion, our faith can even just be appreciating the body that we are in, right? Like, regardless of what you believe in religion or spirituality, this body was created for you somehow, right? So the more energy and intention you bring to honoring your body and honoring however you got here, the more fearless and free you can be, knowing that you are perfectly made in this body and you deserve to feel pleasure in this body. And that can in itself really set you free. So that is today's card pull. And that's going to do it for this episode of Transits Today. I'll be back tomorrow to talk you through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the weekend ahead. We'll do our 3-card tarot pull, a little preview of what we'll talk about tomorrow. We have a lot going on with the moon all weekend. And just because we're only talking about the moon doesn't mean it's going to be boring, because the moon is forming conjunctions every day over the next 3 days. So we're going to have some pretty strong emotional transits coming through. And I'll be there with you to walk you through the transits this Saturday or this Friday and get you prepared for the weekend ahead. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for me. I hope you have a beautiful Thursday. I will see you right back here tomorrow morning. And until I see you next, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.